Right, and welcome to Assets and Algorithms, the show where we explore the intersection of real estate and technology. I have my guest here today, Alan from Blue222 with me. Thanks for joining today, Alan.
Hey, Derek. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You have a really interesting story and a really interesting company that I'm excited to dive into. So I'd love to start with your roots. How did your journey building a VC-backed national environmental inspection company lead to founding Blue 222?
I guess I've always been an engineer. I had from an early age, for some reason, I wanted to be an inventor. I remember that being something that was seemed really exciting to me was to be an inventor. And I was introduced to Purdue Engineering School in junior
Hmm.
high school. They actually showed up at our junior high school and they took us up there and they showed us all the really cool stuff like wind tunnels and underground robot labs and all this really fun, cool stuff. And they didn't show you the calculus classes and that kind of stuff that wasn't so fun. Yeah, so I just always enjoyed trying to figure out ways to do things better. Um, and I always had this drive to do things my own way. I started, gosh, maybe my first job. I was sixth grade. I had a paper route, and then it was on from there. I was always trying to start a business. So when I was working for an environmental consulting firm, and I just thought there was a better way to do what we were doing by really focusing on being the best at something that it was the most common environmental inspection called a phase one environmental site assessment. It's the most commonly performed environmental service in the country. And I thought that it would make sense to use technology to make that really fast and be the best and the fastest and the most cost effective. And that's what we did. So we set out, we raised capital from a bunch of small investors to start. We got rolling, built it out nationally, and ended up raising venture capital, building a national company, and then merging that with another company in North Carolina that is still operating today. In fact, we just had a call with them this morning. We were talking about them using the software, current software. So that's what got me started. And I would almost say that Blue 222 is sort of a continuation of what we built there in that what we have built with Blue 222 would have been something that I would love to have had while we were running the previous company, which was called ESA1, to better manage all of the inspection work and the contractors that we were working with around the country. That's how I got where I got it. That's what got us started. Now I kept seeing companies like Uber and Airbnb come along and just thought, why is it that all of the whole real estate world still does everything by emails and phone calls? And they've just sort of drug their feet. And literally, most companies are still doing environmental assessment work, building inspections, appraisals, home inspections. They're doing it the same way they did it in the 1990s. You know,
Hmm.
they started using email and they just kind of stuck with that back in the 1990s. And gosh, why is it you can click a button on your phone, a car shows up in 5 minutes, takes you to the airport, your groceries show up in 2 hours?
Hmm.
Oh, why can that same technology not be used for really cleaning up and making that industry efficient? And that's what we've set out to do is to build a marketplace, a smart platform marketplace that everybody can plug into and make their the logistics, the bidding, the scheduling, communications with their vendors that are doing that kind of work really super efficient.
Awesome. I love that vision because you're right. Real estate is definitely lagging when it comes to adopting this technology, and it can make everybody's life a bit easier when it comes to these processes of making some of the largest purchases that most people ever make in their lives. I'd love for you to share a bit about your role today and how it fits into the broader mission at Blue 220.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to run into a guy named Eric Craig. We both went to Purdue and we met through a Purdue entrepreneurial reunion. And he was part of building Orbitz. He was the first employee of Orbitz Hotel Division, built that from zero. He was the first employee of Orbitz Hotel, built that to over 3 billion a year in sales. And the more we talked about what we're doing at Blue 222, the more he saw the unbelievable potential of a marketplace for this industry. And he was there to see how much of a difference that made for the travel industry. And there's a lot of similarities in that The travel industry used to be very much emails, phone calls, spreadsheets, paper. You would pick up the phone and start calling hotels to try to find a hotel room. Orbitz ended up building a platform that lots of companies are plugged into. I mean, Hilton uses Orbitz for their back end, Amex uses Orbitz for their back end. And so it's a platform that lots of companies can plug into, and it just it makes everything more efficient and everything more automated. And that's what he saw the potential for in Blue222. And then he joined the company as CEO. I stepped into a role of founder and chairman, which really, I mean, it's I'm still very active in day to day and will be very active in day to day. But a lot of my shift has been to focus on capital raising. So I'm trying to make sure that we have enough capital to build what we need to build. And Eric is focused on more of the day-to-day vision and direction for the company. I focus a little bit more on, or maybe long-term, I'll focus more on strategy and large partnerships. But we still talk. We talk every single day and are building everything together. So along with our partner, Chris Moon he helped me build my previous company, ESA1, and he's a very big part of the day-to-day operations as well.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's really a full circle moment coming from their previous company and continuing things here with this new company, but also bringing in new team members that can bring in unique perspectives from other industries, which is awesome. I'd love to hear about, you said you're raising capital, right? What does a typical day look like for you as a founder navigating real estate and inspection tech space, raising capital?
So usually every day, first thing, Eric and I have a call and just kind of sync up on what we're working on. He has been spending a lot of time working with a client that we're onboarding. It's a $6 billion client that we're onboarding to use our software. And it's really interesting to see the opportunities that we see for a client like that, in that companies like that have often evolved into giant companies that still do everything manually. Tons of people that are sending emails and they're tracking things on spreadsheets. And that's pretty typical across the industry. It's very, very common. I mean, every day we see examples of large companies that will send out an email with 100 sites on it, addresses, and they'll send that out to 800 real estate, environmental inspectors, and request bids. And they're literally tracking all of those emails that come in, the bids, manually. So they all
Mm-hmm.
come into one email address, and there's a whole bunch of people trying to divide up and say, okay, this bid goes with this project, this bid goes with this project, and they're tracking it on spreadsheets. And our software will do all that automatically. It just automates that whole process. So I'll talk to Eric, and he's kind of focusing on a lot of those areas. And then we'll kind of sync up on outreach for investors.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with several different consultants that are helping us with various things: outreach to VCs, outreach to family offices, individuals. And then I do a whole lot of, I'm kind of our social media guy now. I'm doing this stuff, and try to make sure we post on social media every day, and um, build that audience, which has been pretty fascinating. How even if some of your posts get a lot of hits and some don't, but it still hits people out there that you wouldn't otherwise hit. And I hear from people, learn about our product, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know there was anything like this. This will make a huge difference for our company." So I do that, and then I'm focused on just a lot of old school networking. I wish there was a really good system like Blue222 for connecting with investors, but
Mm-hmm.
there are systems out there, but it's still, man, you got to do your own networking. You got to grind it and talk to a lot of people, because it's really, it's like dating. It's like, you got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find the right person. And it's the same way with investors. You talk to one person and they have no idea what you're talking about, and they're like, why would I ever need anything like this? And then you talk to somebody else and they're like, oh my God, this is earth change. This is going to be something that dramatically changes the world. You just have to find those people that really get it and get excited about it. That's kind of what we're often looking for.
Absolutely. I understand that. And it is very unique to have that vision and have that tech in place, and you know that it solves this issue, but being able to find those people that actually get it to bring it to life and bring it to the masses so that it can accomplish what it needs to. I'd love to hear about some of those major shifts that you're seeing right now in the property inspection or investor transactions that tech is finally catching up to fulfill those visions.
Yeah, I think there are a couple major kind of tipping points that are causing the industry to really think about software.
Hmm.
We've done some of our own surveys and found that 94% of the industry still uses emails and phone calls for all of the management of this work. But with the National Association of Realtors, the law that kind of threw a wrench in the way that brokers are paid, it just really shaking up the whole industry. So
Hmm.
the transactional real estate industry is rethinking the way that transactions are done. And at the same time, you've got AI agents coming along. So if you think about the way things are moving with AI agents, there's no question to me that within a few years, it's probably, I always say 5 years, but it's probably going to be even less than that. There will be a lot less realtors. And if you're a realtor out there, don't kill the messenger. I really, I just think that's going to happen because with AI agents, you will, the way it will work, confident is you're going to pick up your phone and talk to your AI. You'll have an AI agent that will just be like Chat GPT, and you'll say, "Hey, I'm looking for a house," and it'll say, "Well, tell me more about it." And you'll explain what you're looking for, and it'll go back and forth, and it'll really figure out what you want. And
Hmm.
then instead of showing you a bunch of houses that you may or may not like, if you've ever bought a house, you've usually looked at a bunch of houses you don't really like before you find one you do. It's probably going to be
Hmm.
better at really finding, quickly finding the one that's perfect for you, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of time. And then it's going to automatically line up a meeting, a visit. Well, it's probably going to, you're going to do a virtual tour first, and that's already available with Matterport and things, but there'll be more robotic ways of touring a home. And then you'll say, I want to, visit, I want to go there myself, and the AI will schedule the visit there. Maybe you'll actually meet a live realtor at that time, so can get a little bit of personal touch when you get to the site. And then you're gonna say, okay, you're gonna get on your AI, and it's gonna go back and forth really quickly and nail down the purchase price. It's gonna say, okay, we've locked this in. Boom, contract signed, due diligence starts, and
Hmm.
then their software is going to hit our software, and your home inspection, your appraisal, all the things that need to happen to close that deal are going to be scheduled in 5 minutes. And what happens now is somebody hands you a piece of paper with a whole bunch of home inspectors and appraisers, and you
Right.
start trying to line them up, and maybe somebody calls you back, maybe they don't, maybe it's 4 days later they call you back. I think most of these people are very professional, very responsive, so I'm not saying that it's their fault, but they're in the middle of a home inspection and they're up to their eyeballs and they've got 4 home inspections that day. It's going to be tough for them to call you back. Boy, wouldn't it be nice for them as well to, they're doing their 4 home inspections that day. Typically they would get home and start responding to phone calls, start responding to emails, spend a couple hours managing the business side of lining up their business, their projects. What if they went home and, grilled out and chilled out, and
Hmm.
didn't have to worry about doing all that stuff because Blue222 just has them scheduled for the next 2 weeks. And that's what we're really going for. We're starting right now. We're really focused more on the big clients that really have problems. They've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of inspections that they're managing per month. And some of these clients are 25,000 inspections per month. You're doing environmental inspections, building inspections, home inspections, whatever it may be. And our software just lets them plug in and automate a big chunk of that work. So they can get next the amount of work done with the same amount of people. And then we are gradually building on more of the AI machine learning that's doing the faster and more nuanced matchmaking, and the AI agents for the vendors. So all of that automation happens if you're a home inspector, appraiser, environmental inspector. Our software is just bringing business in the door for you, and you don't have to, you do less and less. Or your AI agent starts to know your schedule, it starts to know your typical price range, it starts to figure out when you increase prices based on square footage, and it kind of learns that, and then eventually it's like, hey, you want me to just bid these for you? Yep, just slap it on my schedule, and it just goes. That's what we're going for, and I think the technology's there and getting better every day.
Absolutely. You touched on a ton of great topics there, a lot of great insight. I think, how you mentioned Blue222 being able to support those professionals and, automate some of those tasks that they may be doing manually and save them time so that they can stay focused on their clients, right? And servicing them to the best of their abilities, as well as, even, the home buyers and the home sellers being able to automate those processes to get those homes sold or bought without them, dealing with a ton of headaches. And while it may remove some realtors from the space, I think really tech forward or high producing realtors that adapt will be able to become infinitely more productive in order to serve that client base as well. So it's really interesting that the shifts that we're seeing and what the future could possibly look at and how Blue 222 fits into that. I'd love to talk really quickly about, what friction points, because with all the great things happening, there's always going to be
Mhm.
some drawbacks. What friction points would you say you guys are still working through, or do you see in the future to solve?
I would say the biggest friction point is that often companies are too busy to slow down long enough to fix their processes. And there are especially the bigger the company, the more people you have that are involved in a process, and not particularly in an efficient way. I mean, just a general example, if you do work for a large company, multi-billion dollar company, typically just to get started, you have to get through their legal department. You have to get through their accounting department. You have to get through their operations people. You have to get through their scheduling people. And so everybody has to have their say in what they like or what they don't like about your software or what you're proposing to do. And it's wild because our software could literally take, in so many of these companies, if they just said, all right, let's roll. They could literally take the work that they're doing, upload all their vendors, and automate their work in 20 minutes. But the hard part and the friction that you ask about is that, it's well, this person over here is approving all of the resumes of the vendors that are doing this particular work. So we have to wait for him or her to review all the resumes of the vendors that are not currently in our preferred vendor list, but are on Blue222. I say this is a lot of little things like that that sort of they're more, in some cases they're just being overly cautious and making sure that they have good quality vendors, which is great. I mean, that should happen, but what we want to try to do is even make those parts automated. So if they have a process and they're like, all right, this vendor has to have this insurance, and they have to be able to write a report that meets this standard. All of those things can be done with AI agents now, and that's what one of our big things that we're moving toward would be, you're an environmental inspector, and a client wants to use you. Well, you have to get qualified for them. So, but maybe you've already uploaded your resume. You've already uploaded a sample report. You've already uploaded any certifications you have. All that stuff is in there. So our system will then just go like review, just instantly review all that stuff and go like, okay, this person meets your qualifications, boom, they're on your preferred list. Whereas now, what's typically happening is let's get all that information together. They have to fill out some of these clients actually have pages of PDF forms that a vendor has to fill out to get qualified to do work for them. Again, all that stuff can just be automated almost instantaneously with AI agents. And that's where we're going long term is figuring out how do we do that so that when these big clients come along, they see how easy it is and they're just like, all right, this is silly. Let's just jump in, let it go, let it do what it needs, let the software work. And all of a sudden our jobs are way easier. We can focus on one interesting thing about these big clients is often what's happening when they come on board. There's two ways you could look at it. We're helping them 10x the amount of work that they can do. So they can get the same amount of work they're doing right now done with a tenth of the people. So that's
Mm,
one way. But what usually we see happening is those same clients, they could be doing a lot more work, but they can't get it through their pipe. Or
mm,
they've got too many bottlenecks, and
mhm.
not enough capacity to get the work done. And when they come onto our system and now they've got 10 times the capacity that they had before, all of a sudden they can let their salespeople go crazy and just
Mhm.
bring in 10 times more work. So everybody wins. That's what you know, I'm not going to say everything is 100% perfect. We got a lot of work to do to make everything super, super smooth. It's just the way software works. There's a lot of
Right.
learning curve, but it's already capable of 10xing somebody's work. Eventually, that's going to be X. That will be able to help somebody really accelerate the amount of productivity they have.
Listen, I look forward to the day where Blue222 is in the middle of every real estate transaction, automating those processes intelligently with AI agents running on the back end, and we can get everything running smoothly. I don't think it's as far as we all may think, only because uh, the progression from when it was first released, when this technology was first introduced to where we are now is so far ahead in only 3 years. There's no telling what the sky is, what the limit looks like moving forward, but I'll be happy to watch it grow. Thank you, Alan, for joining us and providing all of that great information about Blue 222 and how you see the industry. I'd love to give you this time to let people know where they can find you if they want to reach out to you, if investors would like to participate in any funding rounds you have. Let us know where they can find you.
Yeah, just go to blue222.com. So it's the spelled out blue and then the numbers 222, blue222.com. And you should be able to reach me there. You can find me on LinkedIn, easy to find on there, Alan Grosheider, or Alan G at blue222.com. And we would love to talk. I'd love to talk to anybody about investing. I'd love to talk to anybody about how you could use the software. And this isn't just for big companies. We've got really small companies that, one person companies that are using our software to manage a nationwide company. They've got,
Mhm.
that's another thing we've kind of built the software to do is say, you're an individual environmental inspector and you want to do work nationwide. We've already got all the inspectors on there, so you can just jump on, create a client account and go. So, let me know if anybody wants a demo, if they want to talk about investing. We think we've got a monster market. We think it's about a $2.5 trillion market out there if you look at everything, all real estate transactional inspections plus ancillary services. So home inspector says you need a new roof, and our system goes ahead and bids a new roof. When you add that stuff in, it's a monster market. So it's going to be hopefully a very good investment for you. So jump on board.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks again, Alan. And this has been another episode of Assets and Algorithm.
Thanks, Derek.